Are you a people pleaser? Does the idea of inconveniencing another human make you want to run away and hide or puke or something? It might be so baked into how you operate in the world that you're not even aware of your own preferences anymore. You're always just going with the flow, taking on too much. You only know that you are exhausted, overwhelmed, and miserable. People-pleasing may be so woven into the fabric of how you operate that you don't even know your true preferences. If this is hitting close to home for you, this video is for you. We are going to talk about why ADHD women are so prone to this, why you should stop, how you should stop, and what to expect when you do. And I have a free mini workbook so you can follow along, linked in the description. Now, if you're new here, I'm Tiff, neuroscience professor with a PhD and ADHD and a mom of two, and I am on a mission to help women with ADHD go from constantly overwhelmed and in survival mode to empowered, energetic, and truly thriving so that you can build a life you love in harmony with your brain. That is what we do here on this channel, and we dive even deeper with the amazing women in the ADHD Success Lab. Let's go. And just to be clear, people-pleasing isn't some cute little quirk. That's how you often hear it spoken about, but this just is not true. As I've started working my way out of my people-pleasing tendencies, as I peel back the layers, I realized just how deep this tendency went. And although this strategy served me during some chaotic times in my childhood, as I've become an adult, it's really started wreaking havoc on my relationships, my schedule, and my mental and my physical well-being. So it's a serious issue. So here's why ADHD women are so prone to people-pleasing. First, we have emotional sensitivity. If you have ADHD, you are probably very familiar with those very big, very intense, very unpleasant emotions that come with having an ADHD brain. And research actually shows that ADHD brains have larger emotional responses, and we know that emotional pain and physical pain are processed in some of the same brain areas. So if we have more intense responses and we're experiencing them as almost painful, I just want you to know that that perception has a neurobiological basis, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. What this means is that saying no and potentially inconveniencing or disappointing another human being can feel very unpleasant and almost painful to do. So we naturally end up avoiding those feelings, even at the cost of our own needs or our own well-being. Number 2 is early conditioning. Growing up, if you had ADHD, you may have experienced being too much for the adults, caretakers, and authority figures in your life. Layer on top of that the fact that your specific environment growing up may have required you to use people-pleasing as a survival strategy. This potentially was your brain trying to keep you safe by keeping everyone around you calm and happy, meaning that it served you really well during a certain stage of your life. What ends up happening, though, is you learn to tone yourself down, be likable, go with the flow, meet others' needs first. And that ends up getting tied to your self-worth. Because you make people happy, that's what makes you a valuable human. And when approval becomes tied to our self-worth, it becomes even harder to get out of those patterns. And the third reason is avoiding decision fatigue. ADHD brains experience a lot of decision fatigue on a daily basis. All of those executive function types of issues make deciding a really tough task. So we're already kind of exhausted at the idea of decision making. So it can become much easier to allow other people to decide for us. And sometimes this is no big deal. But when you start doing that for the bigger decisions and directions for your life over and over again, you end up living someone else's priorities, needs, values, and goals rather than your own. You may not even realize the damage that people-pleasing is doing. Which brings us to part 2, why you should stop. Here are some examples of how people-pleasing is hurting you. First, you give away control of your time. When we are letting other people decide what we should be using our time with and how we're going to be using it and when, you end up living someone else's priorities, needs, values, and goals rather than your own. And then down the road, this can lead to resentment of the people who are using up your time, even if you've never signaled to them that this isn't okay with you. Number 2 is that you teach people how you want to be treated. So when you are going with the flow and people pleasing, you are teaching people that you don't mind. You don't mind if they decide. You don't mind what's done. You're low key. It's fine. They can just decide based on their preferences because you don't have any preferences. The problem is one day you will mind. And when that happens, relationships can start to feel very one-sided and you wonder, Why aren't they wondering about my preferences? Why would they think I'm okay with that? And sometimes it's because we haven't told them it's not okay with us. You don't deserve to feel taken for granted, but people deserve to know what your preferences, needs, and boundaries actually are. Number 3 is that when you're people-pleasing your true self, your preferences, your personality, your needs, your boundaries, your goals, the things that make you you can often get hidden and buried. People in your life then don't get to know the real you. Quirks, your humor, your preferences, and honestly, these are the things we automatically feel like people won't like about us, but they're actually the best part. They're probably what you love most about the people around you that you are closest to. So if we're not sharing that with people because we think they won't want to see our preferences or our quirks, and we're just going with the flow, they're missing out and we're missing out on a potentially deeper, more meaningful relationship. Here's the biggest reason this is a problem. When people don't know the real you, deep down, you know that. And this can make you doubt whether people actually love you, appreciate you, like you for who you really are. And again, if you haven't shown them, how can they? So you feel way less secure in your relationships, but maybe haven't given people an opportunity to actually know the real you. This was a really tough realization for me because friendships are hard with ADHD, and they're definitely something that I have consistently struggled with, and they can feel really one-sided. And number 4 is kind of a combination of all of these, but you end up feeling resentful and overwhelmed. You're doing too much. The things you're doing aren't the things you probably should be doing that align with your needs, goals, and values. Your relationships aren't as deep as they ought to be and feel one-sided. And all of this combined can just feel really problematic and hard to overcome. But a lot of these issues have a common source at how much people-pleasing you might be doing. And no shade here, I was ticking all of these boxes, some of them twice. If all of these are hitting home, like, what are you supposed to do about it? Glad you asked. Before we get into this, I want you to write this down. The opposite of people-pleasing is not people upsetting. The opposite of people pleasing is actually living in alignment with your needs, your goals, and your values. And I'm not saying you're never going to compromise, but you're aware of your needs, goals, and values, and you're not constantly putting those in the back. So the thing to do is actually to start small. This is a muscle that you need to build, and to build muscle, you have to put in the reps. And you are not going to be great at it at first. You won't be perfectly consistent about doing it. It might feel awkward. It will definitely feel uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the more comfortable it will feel. And now that I have learned how to say no, I actually kind of enjoy it. Even little things like picking the restaurant or saying, I'd really rather stay in and watch a movie than go out tonight. And even for those tiny little moments when you're looking out for you, when you're deciding from your needs, goals, and values, I want you to celebrate it every single time. Because the more you show your brain that this is something you can do and it's not going to kill you, and you notice how good it feels to decide things with yourself in mind, the faster you're going to build that muscle. And that's when the magic happens, because that's when you can start shaping your life according to what works best for your brain, how to meet your own needs. And honestly, everyone around you is going to benefit once that happens too. They just may not know it right away. And if you're going to make a boundary or start behaving in a new way that other people are going to notice and you're nervous about that, this is where you can let people know that you're going to be trying something new. And I don't mean asking their permission or their opinion about the fact that you're going to be trying something, but just let them know, hey, just so you know, I've been feeling really busy and overwhelmed, and so I'm going to be saying no to more things. And it doesn't mean that I don't care. It's just something I need to do for my own well-being and my needs. Now, right now, you might be thinking, that all sounds good, Tiff, but I can just feel the guilt and the shade that I'm going to get from people when I stop doing the things that I've always done for them, or start saying no to what's being asked of me, or I'm going to be called selfish for looking out for myself. Like, these are all really valid fears to have. So your fears are not completely unfounded. The people closest to you who are used to you being a certain way, particularly the ones that may have benefited the most from your selflessness, where you're always putting yourself last, those people may not be thrilled that things are going to change. So don't always expect like immediate enthusiastic support. I hope you get that. But if you don't, that is not a signal that you are making the wrong decision or that you are being selfish. It is a natural knee-jerk reaction to change, because just like your brain protects you from change because change can be dangerous, other people's brains do the same. And when people stop acting in the way that we expect them to, that feels dangerous to people even if they don't realize it. So it's also important to be patient. It's time to get comfortable allowing other adults in your life to feel some discomfort. And I promise they are capable of doing it. You can be compassionate, but do not just revert back because you feel so uncomfortable that they're uncomfortable. Second, it's really easy to doubt yourself if other people don't seem on board with your decisions. But this, at the end of the day, is only your decision. Other people do not know your needs, your values, your goals, and your internal state as well as you do. So this is a good way to practice trusting yourself that this is the right decision. And listen, you can do the experiment, and if you don't like how it turns out, you can always change some things, but stand in your power as the main character in your own life and give something new a try and be consistent, even if others around you are a little bit uncomfortable. It is also very important not to apologize that you are making a change. You really don't need to apologize for having boundaries. And fourth, it is so important to remember that you don't need anyone's approval to live a life that feels good for you. Sometimes people just need reassurance because they might feel a little bit threatened that you're changing. The pro tip here is that it can be really hard if you do feel alone when you're making a change. And this is where finding a community of people that you can talk to who will support you, whether this community is in person or online, the more support you have, the more likely you are to succeed. I know this is a major issue for every woman I've worked with in the ADHD Success Lab. It was one of my biggest issues, and overcoming it is one of the biggest reasons I was able to kind of get out and stay out of burnout. I have been shocked by how little people actually ask for an explanation when I say no. And here's the other magical thing that I found when I started saying no. The world didn't end, and people were able to find someone else. And professionally, being less available actually increases your reputation because you seem like someone that's in demand. So there was really no downside to me starting to say no more, and I couldn't believe it, and I wish I'd figured that out sooner. And everyone around you will benefit even more than they were in the long run. And if you want to know the 7 ADHD mindset shifts I made that transformed my life and helped me get out of ADHD burnout, watch this video next. You got this.